I did an interview with two young ladies about all Dominican issues, the death of the tourists, what's going on with the issues with Haiti, Dominican Americans, and what's going on in the Dominican Republic as of 2019. The interview is my first interview on Skype. Believe it or not, yes, I have never used Skype. So in the interview, and I apologize from the beginning, you're gonna get good audio quality, but there's some instances where it freezes, and you're gonna see some of the girls, their faces freeze, but the audio still keeps going, and you will not see my face. Why? Because I don't have a webcam up to this moment right now. With your support, I'm not even asking you for you guys money, but with your support, your likes, your comments, is that I'm going to see this channel grow, and hopefully we're gonna get a webcam. But in the meantime, enjoy. It's gonna be childlike TV language, which is Sophia, the one on the right, and Viva Bella Extina, Christina on the left. I am Valentine. Enjoy the video, guys.
So welcome back to my channel. My name is Childlike TV, and a lot of people know me by Sophia, and I'm here with Viva Bella Extina and the Valentine's show. I'm really happy to have them on my show. Today we're going to be talking about the relationship between Dominican Americans and Dominicans, and also the recent death of several tourists in Dominican Republic. We are all going to share our thoughts regarding both of these topics. I will also like to encourage all of my subscribers to subscribe to Valentine's show and also Viva Extina. I feel like they have great content. You should check out all of their videos. They both bring their contribution, especially for those who are Dominicans and Dominican Americans. We all have to support each other regardless of whether we believe 100% or support 100% on other person's views. But we need to support each other, respect each other, and understand everybody's perspectives to find common ground amongst each other. So without further ado, I'm going to start by sharing my thoughts, and then I believe Valentine show or Viva Bella, whoever wants to jump in and continue sharing their thoughts regarding the relationship between Dominicans and Dominican Americans, feel free to jump ahead. So my experiences with Dominicans who are from the island, along with Dominicans that are from the United States, have been good and bad. It's normal, with any given ethnic group that you come across. There is connection, and there is also distance between each other, and to me that is normal. And I think it has to do, I think my perspective is a little bit broader since I was born and raised in Dominican Republic. I was educated there, I worked there, but I also worked and lived here in the US for the past 13 years. So I have a little bit of knowledge when it comes to the Dominicans that I come across here in Boston. I cannot speak for the Dominicans who speak in other states, who live in other states. And I'm sure that both of you can bring information about those Dominicans and Dominicans Americans that you come across in the states that you live. But one of the things that gets my attention is the lack of unity between Dominicans and Dominicans who are from the island, first of all. I don't think that we support each other. I think that we're all the time competing with each other. I mean, I could certainly see that when I was in college at Berkeley here in Boston. I don't think that there was unity amongst each other. Some of them were, we developed a good friendship and we were able to understand each other. But at the end, there was always that friction, that competition, instead of doing the opposite, which was helping each other grow and try to find a way to grow together and help each other. And then that's a main issue I have with Dominicans from the island. When it came to the Dominicans who were born and raised here, I think I don't blame them necessarily, because maybe the parents did not teach them a lot of things, did not give him information about the country, about the culture. I mean, I have two students who are who were born and raised here in the US, but the parents are from China, but the parents enrolled them at a Mandarin class since they were kids,
Yeah.
you know, speaking Mandarin at home, but on top of that, they get to learn how to write the language and read it and take classes twice a week. So I just wish that more Dominican parents would do the same with their kids to, teach them about the culture, the language from the beginning. And I think that is part of the problem. And, that's why some Dominicans who are from the island, unfortunately, and I'm not saying it's right, but they might look down on certain Dominicans, Americans who don't worry about our problems or try to understand the culture or learn about the culture. And that's why I have mixed feelings about it, because I don't want to blame them, but at the same time it's like, if you care about the country from which your parents came from, then why don't you take the steps to inform yourself, to educate yourself? I mean, there are tons of apps that you can download to learn the language. And some of them might say, well, when I go to Dominican Republic, people criticize me because I have an accent, and I have an accent too in English.
Yeah.
So of course I live here in the US, so I struggle with that every day. And like I'm not dead. I do tongue twisters. I'm gonna say to reduce my accent. So it's not like it's not impossible for
Yeah.
them to improve their accent if that's something that is so concerning to them.
Yeah. I'm gonna go first. First of all, I want to thank you, Sophia, for shouting me out on your video. And I'm gonna say this right now. I've never told her to put me on her videos or shout me out, but she has just done it for the goodness in her heart, and I really thank you so much for doing that. To be honest, I want to thank you both for inviting me on this chat, and I think it's awesome that we young Dominicans and young people in general are able to talk about the issues that literally are going to affect us, and we are going to be the ones that are going to have to deal with these issues when they come out in the future or now in the present, to be honest. When it comes down to the relationships between Dominican born and USA born of USA born Dominicans, we could say, or Americans, at the end of the day, they are Americans, but of Dominican roots. I really haven't experienced that friction. There's obviously the differences that we have, obviously, and you could tell because they have a very Americanized way of speaking Spanish, and it's funny because it's like a weird Spanish with the weird Dominican accent. You feel it's like
Oh my
it's like they come from they were born here, right? But sometimes they have like this weird. It could if their parents are from Del Cibao, which is a region in the Dominican Republic, they have a Cibao accent, and they were born in the United States. But it's a funny Cibao accent because they speak with some Dominicans speak with like the E sound, and they put that. We know the Dominicans know exactly what I'm talking about, but I haven't experienced that friction with them. They're a bit different than us, and I also believe that Dominican parents are doing a huge disservice to their children by not teaching them Spanish. Because if and I've seen this with Dominicans, that the kids don't speak well Spanish, or I mean it's just a disservice because if you speak two languages, then you're a word for two people. So I mean, why not? I mean, now when it comes to Dominicans from the island, I find that look and let me that way you guys know exactly where I'm coming from. I was not born in the United States. I came to the United States when I was 6 years old, and I came here. So basically, all my learning, even though I was born in the Dominican Republic, all my learning is from American. So, but my parents, they spoke Spanish in the home. They didn't really talk to me too much about Dominican culture, but they did, and obviously Dominican heritage was, we were surrounded by it. They obviously imagine, first generation immigrants. My father was always working. My mother was taking care of the children at home. So it's like their main priority was like just to take care of us. I come from a big family. It's 5 of us, and when it comes down to Dominicans from DR, that friction that you're talking about, I've experienced it, to be honest, and it's kind of shocking to me a little bit. Why do I say that's shocking to me? I'm like, you are Dominican, I'm Dominican. We are, in this country that literally does not belong to us. Why can't you treat me good? Let me treat you good. You treat me good, and I have experienced that, like, negativity towards me. I'm like, but to be honest, I don't even pay mind to it. I just see myself, like you're just a horrible human being for not wanting to help me. Like, what is the problem? But it's just that. Christina, you look like you were like dying to say something.
No? I'm just waiting for you to.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm done.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'm the one Dominican American here. So my parents came to Virginia in the 80s. I was born and raised here in Virginia. And I always wonder why my parents decided to come here, because, the majority of Dominicans are up north. So I've always been like, why Virginia?
Either Washington Heights or Boston somewhere.
Yeah.
So in Boston. Sorry.
No, you're fine. So I was born and raised here in Virginia. And so my parents, again, they're from the Cibao. My dad eventually moved to the capital, though. So his like later years, he was raised in the capital. But they're both from Bonao. We're from Acampo, like right outside of Bonao. Mm-hmm. So anyway, growing up, my parents, I don't remember them ever like specifically telling me like about like Dominican history or like the culture. I just kind of picked it up. Because, my dad, from very young, well, for one, they both spoke to me in Spanish all the time. Mm-hmm. Even now when they speak English, they have like a heavy accent. Yeah. Apparently Spanish was my first language. But then when I went into kindergarten and started school, English kind of took over, but I've always remained bilingual. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm one of those Dominicans with a funny accent in Spanish. Yeah. I mean, I think there's like a little Dominicanness there because, that's what I've been surrounded by. Yeah. So there might be a little American flair to it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there is. I mean, when the Dominicans that do speak with that language, there is definitely a Dominican influence in it. But then it's kind of a little bit weird. It diverges to like kind of like it's just weird, to be honest to me.
Yeah. So, so growing up, I grew up with my dad always playing, Dominican music. He's a big like bachatero. So I feel like I'm kind of like that too. Like I like to listen to a lot of bachata and of course merengue and all that. But, so growing up, I always kind of had like an interest in learning more about Dominican culture and like kind of like the history. So that was something I did have to take upon myself to learn. Now, so here in Virginia, like I've mentioned this a couple times on my channel, but there's not a whole lot of Dominicans here.
I could imagine.
Yeah. So like,
in Boston, I'm sorry, go ahead. In Boston, we do have we have 2 towns. There is Providence, which is majority Dominicans and is predominantly of the Cibao region. Boston is from the south, which is Bani. And then Lawrence is also the Cibao region. So it's like we're everywhere.
Okay.
The only problem I have with the people from Boston is that they are a Red Sox fan and I'm a Yankees fan. Nah.
My father is a Yankee.
He's a Yankees fan. That's weird. Yeah. I see some Boston Red Sox fan around here in New York City and I'm like, you are in New York, right? Do you know that, right? I mean, this is Yankee territory. But Christina, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So there's a little more Dominicans around here now than there was, say, when I was coming up. But there's just not a lot here. So like in my high school, I was one of maybe 5 Dominicans there, maybe. So I grew up, like the area where I grew up is very diverse, and there is a lot of Hispanics, but they're mainly like Central American. So a lot of Salvadoreño and Mexicans and northern people.
Yeah.
So I didn't really come across too many other Dominican Americans. I didn't really have any other Dominican friends. But at the same time, because my family is so big, like one by one, my parents started bringing over all of their siblings, and their siblings brought over all their kids. So I'll have a lot of cousins here, but they were all born in DR. So I feel like because of that, my exposure to Dominicans has mainly been Dominicans from the islands, not so much Dominican American. Actually, my dad has 12 siblings, and then my mom has 22 half siblings.
Wow.
So my family is huge. So yeah, they've all started coming and they all brought their kids. So yeah, my cousins and stuff that I grew up around, they were all Dominicans born over there. They came maybe like their teenage years, stuff like that. So I've always been exposed to Dominicans from the island. But there is, of course, a difference between them and, say, me and my sister, because, we're both born here. And, they would sometimes call us gringa and stuff like that, or be like, oh, you guys like to eat McDonald's. They would always say that to us. Oh, te gusta McDonald's. We over here, we eat plata and this and that. And it was one of us a little bit. But it was never like a bad making fun. It was just kind of making that distinction, because at the end of the day, as much as we, have that Dominican heritage, we are American.
Yeah.
Therefore, we listen to American music. We like some American food. We have American friends. And not everything is Dominican. There's like that duality to how we are. So in that sense, there is a difference. And going back to DR, because I went to DR the first time when I was 6 months old, and I've been going like basically my whole life back and forth there. So I've also been exposed to Dominican culture as well. And there is a little bit of a difference in how they treat me and my sister because we are American. They call us gringa too, which to me is so weird because in my mind, I always equated gringa to white Americans.
Yeah, of course.
I know it's not just limited to them, but I always found that so weird when they would call me gringa. But anyway, they treated us a little differently. And in a way, I would say they kind of treated us a little better. I don't know. But they also assumed that, we had money and this and that, the typical assumptions a lot of Dominicans over there have, that the ones over here, the ones that are born here, we all got money and this and that. But it was never like a bad tension, so to say, that I experienced from the ones born over there. And even like over here, I've never really had an issue with them. Now, I do agree with what you said, Sophia, earlier, that sometimes Dominicans born on the island will kind of look down a little bit on the ones born here, especially if, you don't speak Spanish, or a lot of them accuse us of being Americanized. But at the same time, it's like, well, we are American.
Yeah.
That just is what it is. As much as we are Dominican, we are also American. So yes, it's only natural that you're going to somewhat assimilate into the culture around you. So I don't feel like it's always kind of fair to judge us on that, because it's like, we are American. That just is what it is.
Well, I'm sorry. Are you done? I don't want to take
go ahead.
Well, I think the problem is, and it's not the fact that you are American, because you are as much American than you are Dominican. I think the problem is that Dominicans and Latin American people in general tend to be very ethnocentric, very nationalist. I will say, though, that out of all of the groups in Latin America, I don't think that Dominicans are as nationalist as other groups of Latin American people. But then when you hear like this is also part of the bad experiences that I have had with Dominican Americans. Like, they start comparing the issues between the border of the United States and Mexico versus Dominican Republic and Haiti. And they say, we're all the same people and we should unify. And they don't really see all the problems that we are facing in our history. They don't take the time to learn about our history. And then you come across these Dominican Americans that hold on to the Dominican flag, but they don't even know the national anthem of our country. And for some Dominicans, for me, I don't blame them. And I see, okay, I can see they embrace the culture and the country from which the parent come from. But with that, why don't you take it upon yourself to learn about our history, to learn about our country, our problems, and try to address it along with us if you care so much about our country. But at the same time, I'm torn because then I see this Dominican from the islands who start, saying, you need to be quiet. You're Dominican Americans. Don't give your opinion or this or that, because that's not the way of helping them to understand our problems. So it's a complex situation where both parties need to communicate and find a way to work together, and I just don't see that happening. And it shouldn't come from only one end, it has to come from both ends. And that's the main issue. And like it's like this is one of the things that I wish it will change amongst each other, because why do we have to be two separate entities when we can all be together? You know what I mean? With our difference, everybody can bring things from their culture to try to solve the problems. Like there are things that, for example, you point out that a lot of Dominicans from the islands don't like to acknowledge, and I think everybody needs to acknowledge our problems, because if we don't, then the problems are never going to be solved, and that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think.
Valentine, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think the influence that it's since we live a lot in America, obviously there is a big influence from the political left, and the political left is the one that wants open borders, and it influences Dominican Americans and whatnot, say no, it's one island, we should leave that, and open up the borders. I'm like, no, it just does not happen like that. If they understand that Dominican Republic is a third world country, also that doesn't have the resources are extremely limited. Imagine this: if the United States is having problem with illegal immigration, just imagine a third world country like the Dominican Republic. What and that's all that is coming from the same source, which is the liberals, left-leaning people saying that we should open up the island because it's one people. I'm like, we can't. We gotta first take care of our own people first, and then we'll with whatever is left, we'll be able to, help the other people out, which are the Haitian. And in this case, Dominican Republic has been the first people to give their helping hand to the Haitian people. But I mean, there's a limit to anything. You know what I mean? It's like it's a reason you have a door on your apartment. You don't let everybody in. I mean, it's just that simple.
But at the same time, if they build a wall in our country, they're going to find a way to go in because it's an island.
Which I understand also too, and that's the argument that they have for the wall in the United States. But then why would you have a door in your home? They could still get in. You know, I mean, it's just there to be a deterrent to the situation, because it's crazy that all the hospitals like in Elias Piña, which is a border city in the Dominican Republic, there's a huge portion of probably more than half of the women giving birth there are of Haitian descent. And then the Dominican Republic will be at the rate that they're giving birth, they're gonna be in a couple years in the future, because that's the thing, we have to look at it in the future. They're gonna overrun the Dominican Republic, and it's not a xenophobia thing or a racism thing. It's just some facts. I know we live in a very polarized society where everything just gets taken to the extreme, and if you say something against anything, oh, forget it, you're racist, you're a xenophobe, you hate Haitians. No, we don't. I mean, it's just. But what can we say? What can I say?
Yeah, from what I have seen online, I guess it's true that it is mainly Dominican Americans that sometimes vocalize that whole, where when we should unify the island or whatever. I haven't come across too many, but I have seen a few. But I mean, I just don't like realistically, like just from a practical sense, I just don't see how that would even be possible because like, I mean, y'all always say, I mean, there's so many things going on just in the Dominican side alone.
Yeah.
And to try to open the border and then take on all the burden of Haiti, which is a lot, you know, no offense to them. Because I mean, again, you have to be very like politically correct and all that. I have nothing against Haitian people. But I mean, how detrimental would that be to, you know, DR? You know, it's not as simple, I think, as people try to make it out to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I guess, yeah, some people kind of take what's going on here, you know, between the US and Mexico and try to apply it over there. And it's just not the same situation.
Yeah. I actually have I don't know if you guys, you girls know that I do have another channel that I do with my wife, which is strictly Spanish. And in that channel, I covered a story just recently where the Minister of Education for the Dominican Republic, there's a law that was passed, Law 44-00, which it says that we are going to read the Bible in schools, right? Whether you want to treat it as a history book or as a religious book, that's all dependent on the student and the families. You could treat it however you want. But the law says that you should read the Bible. And the minister comes along and says, we cannot read the Bible in, in schoolrooms from the Dominican Republic because we have to take into account the religion of the Haitian people, which is voodoo. I mean, so this is where it comes from. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, or some people talk about this like globalism and globalists and all that. I don't particularly believe in any of that stuff, but if we can read the Bible in a predominantly Christian country like the Dominican Republic, which has a Bible in el escudo in the middle of the flag of the Dominican Republic, because we have to respect other people that are not, immigrants that are not from our country, then what are we going to be able to do in our own country? If we have to take into account, other people's religion before we implement something that's, for the Dominican people. I mean, it's just insane and it's crazy. And he said he's not going to do it. He's not going to implement that law because we have to respect them.
Well, yes, that comes down to a lot of things that have been taking place for the past, I don't know, maybe 10 years. It gradually escalated. Like I remember when I was on one of my vacations 2 years ago in Dominican Republic, I heard that there are schools that have been built where only they have Haitian teachers. There are certain medical centers where they only had Haitian doctors. And, I don't want to be also say that there is a conspiracy, but given our history, when you read things about the beheadings of Mocha, when you talk about or read about the 22 years of occupation of our side of the island by the Haitians, sometimes I tend to believe that the Haitians really want to take over our side of the island. And because of our history, because a lot of people don't know that we have been invaded by them like 7 times. But at the same time, I have doubts of that, because if they were to do that, then why didn't they do that again like 20 years ago or 30 years ago again, like they did in previous centuries? And I'm going back and forward. Like, I still want to give Haitian people overall the benefit of the doubt, because I look beyond culture. I look beyond whatever happened in the past. But at the same time, when I hear that 785 people have been mutilated by Haitians, when you see people like Cielo, whose arms were chopped off, her legs were hurt.
Horrible.
Like, you cannot help but think, what is really happening in the island? Are we really being invaded by the Haitians? And I'm like torn, because I don't want to think that about the Haitians, because I know really great people from Haiti.
Of course.
But at the same time, I'm thinking, well, here's our history. This is what is currently happening, and is still happening. And you don't hear in the news, you don't hear it, you don't see the UN going over there and addressing this problem. All of these people, all of this generation of young people whose arms have been chopped off, whose legs have been chopped off, and these people are Dominicans. And this is not just 785 people from this year. I'm going to make a video about all the murders that have been committed by the Haitians over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Because it's insane. But I still want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I still want to look beyond culture, but I cannot help feeling like there is an invasion that will take place. Like I don't want to think like that, but I hear people talking about all of these murders, and I cannot help it. Sorry, go ahead, Viva Bella. You look like you want to say a couple things.
Well, the first thing is just looking at it from the perspective of, again, someone that follows a lot of the things that Dominican Americans sometimes say. Mm-hmm. I think it's a very one-sided type of exposure sometimes, or it's always very concentrated on like demonizing DR, and it's just they always try to highlight what Dominicans are doing towards Haitians, but they never look at it vice versa.
Never.
I mean, and again, this is not, to try to say like Haitians are bad or anything like that. We both have good and bad people in both of our groups, but I do feel like sometimes it is very one-sided. But going back to the whole taking like the Bible out of classes, because I heard that too. But I saw a video from a Haitian woman though, and she actually made the video in Spanish. But she was saying for Haitians in DR, you need to adapt to the culture of the country and follow the rules of the country. But she also said, contrary to popular belief, though, most Haitians actually don't practice voodoo. They're actually mainly Catholic. Of course, there's a good portion of them that do practice voodoo, but most of them are actually Catholic. And she was like, I don't practice voodoo. And she even said, I know that brings nothing but bad stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, when you are the foreigner coming into another country, I feel like you need to adapt to the practices of that country.
100%.
And this is a Christian country. Like if you were to go to any of these countries in the Middle East, like these Muslim countries, like you think they're gonna like allow you to be like, oh no, like, oh, you can't be teaching the Quran, blah blah blah. Like, hello, no. So why now? Like I mean, to an extent, I do feel like, since there are so many Haitians in DR, like if you can do some things to kind of accommodate the ones that are there, legally and that are furthering their education, great. But, something like teaching the Bible that I'm assuming has been done for a while now, to take that away for a minority group that's in the country, I just kind of feel like, why? I just don't feel like that's necessary.
Yeah, we don't even have to take it on the country level. We could just take it if any of you guys invite me to your home, you guys would expect me to abide by the rules you have in your house. I mean, it's just plain and simple. I'm not gonna go into your house, go open up your refrigerator and do whatever you want, go into your rooms, and I mean, it's just plain and simple. I mean, I'm like, it's your home. You set the rules. If I want to be there, if not, then you just get out and you build your own thing. I mean, one key question, it's funny because so many videos, so many people talking about things, but I think I've never seen this key question asked about the whole Haitian problem with the Dominican Republic. What is the Haitian government doing about it?
Exactly.
Never. It's always, the Dominicans are horrible people. The Dominicans, they Haitians who are born in the Dominican Republic, they don't even want to give them birth certificates. They want to close down the border so Haitians don't come. They want to be white Dominicans, and they want, because they don't like them because they're black. But never what happened to the Haitian government. They have the same land we have. Why can they, I always say, like, why can't they, plant stuff and make it, and go from there? Like, I have eaten mangoes from Haiti here in in New York City. Why can't they do more of that and export whatever? They do have land, so make it farmland and give it to the people. I mean, that's just the way I see it. But I mean, so many stories coming out of Haiti, like the Clintons and corruption and they supposedly say they have a big upper class of super mega rich people, and then the lower class who are not good and so forth.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, nobody talks about the government of Haiti. Nobody talks about the first class. My French teacher in Dominican Republic was from Haiti, and she came from the upper class. She got her master's degree in France. I mean, that's how rich
Wow.
she is, with no scholarship. No, she went over there, and her father paid for all of her expenses. And they're very intelligent people. They're able to learn languages quickly. They have a lot of skills that I don't think that they are taking advantage of in their country for the development of their country. Like, I don't hate Haitians. I don't want to necessarily kick them out of Dominican Republic, but I want to empower them so they can address the problems in their country and make it a paradise. Because a lot of people don't know this, but Haiti has always been richer than Dominican Republic. They have gold, they have uranium, they have more. It is suspected that Haiti has more oil than Venezuela.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how rich they are, and they're not exploding all of the exploring all of the choices they could,
Yeah.
develop in their country. They're not doing anything. Um, and it is like you said, a lot of videos are made about us being the racist, us being the ones who reject them, when in fact, Dominican Republic, the president, who I hate, Danilo Medina, but back in 2015, when there was this law that was passed with the change in our constitution, and they deported Haitians back to their country. We did give them a year so they can submit their paperwork so that we can have those Haitians become legal citizens of our country. And the Haitian government just refused to give them birth certificates, and that's a main difference between the Haitians that come to Dominican Republic, that cross the border, versus the Mexicans or whoever else, because it's not just Mexicans, it's all kinds of people that cross the border. Um, Most of them are able to get birth certificates. The Haitian government has not issued birth certificates for the last 30 years for the
Wow.
lower class of Haiti, or even longer than that. I will dare to say almost a century without issuing birth certificates to all of these citizens.
Wow. I wasn't
And
even
yet
aware of that.
you want another country to solve the problems that the government of Haiti was supposed to solve a long time ago. And on top of that, we gave you a whole year for you back in 2015 for you to get yourself together, for you to get your birth certificate. Then, when that year is gone because you didn't apply, because you didn't do what you were supposed to do, well, what choice do Dominicans have? They're going to have to deport you back to Haiti. We cannot have you here. We allowed you to stay for more than 5 years without paying taxes, without paying rent. And yet you have the audacity, after we give you all that time, after the Dominican government provided, I don't even know how many millions of pesos to get your birth certificates, to get your paperwork. On top of that, after we do all of that, then you have the audacity to call us racist, to call us xenophobes. That's why a lot of Dominicans are hurt and offended, because we were the first country to allow to give you help after the 2010 earthquake. And this is how you paid us? Going to the media and calling us racist,
Yeah.
xenophobes? I mean, I'm not going to deny there is racism in Dominican Republic. I have no problem admitting that. There's a lot of social problems, but mainly I think it's classism and other social problems that we have, a lot of political problems. I have no problem admitting to that or addressing the racism and other issues we have. But at the same time, don't make it sound like it's all about us not wanting Black people in our country. I mean, I I'm light skinned, but I have black in me. I have no problem admitting to that.
Yeah.
I'm a mixed person. So is Viva Bella, and so are you.
Yep.
Sorry, who wants to go? I got all emotional.
I think Valentine, you were to say something?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, everything you just stated, these are like crucial details that so many people don't know. They just jump on the bandwagon of what they see on social media, jump on the hate train. Dominicans are racist, Dominicans hate Haitians, Dominicans this, Dominicans that. Look at how much they discriminate Haitians and blah, blah, blah. And they have no awareness of all the ways in which, DR has helped Haitians. But my stance is very much like what you said. I think Haitians need to be more empowered, because like you said to Valentine, people, they never bring up what is the Haitian government doing. I made a video about this too, about what I would like to see between DR and Haiti. And my approach was more like, placing more of the focus on the Haitian government and what they can do for the people versus what DR can do for Haitians. Yeah. Because you never hear about that.
Never.
You hear people mention, like you said, the Clintons and corruption and the elite class not doing much for the people, but what else? So I do think, I can't obviously speak for Haitians, but I do think that there is more of a need or for them to be empowered to seek more from their government. Like you were saying, Sophia, they have a rich land. And, I was looking at like different tourist spots in Haiti, and there are some beautiful places in Haiti, which you don't see in the media.
Yes.
So they could capitalize on the tourist industry. Like there's a lot that they could do. Like, I don't know if they've just gotten so like aplatado that they just don't, I don't know, they've gotten used to being like in esa miseria that they just don't, I don't know. It's like they need some type of pick-me-up, I feel like. And if that could happen, I don't know, maybe that could be like the start to seeing some type of change, in Haiti. Because at the end of the day, we do share the same island. And when Haiti does well, DR will do well. Because they won't be looking to flee all the things that they're, facing in Haiti. They will be happy to stay, in their own country. And one thing I've noticed that, Haitians are very proud, the same way Dominicans are very proud of our heritage and our culture. They're very proud of their heritage and their culture. So I feel like, they should also seek, the betterment of their country as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Valentine, do you want to say anything?
No, I'm good for now. I mean, I just agree with everything you guys are saying. I mean, it's just, it's logical, to be honest, but we don't live in 2019. It's not the world of logic anymore. We're in La La Land, sadly. I mean, it's funny how I guess just normal people, we could think of solutions as to what they could maybe implement and do with their land, but you would think that these people that get selected to be leaders and whatnot, at least they will know what they're doing, and it turns out that they don't. I mean, just that simple. It's like there's a lot of ins and outs, there's a lot of things behind the scenes, and there's a lot of craziness going on that the things don't flow as as good as it is, because at the end of the day we're dealing like with human beings, and humans are very flawed individuals. That just comes along with the human nature.
Yeah,
exactly. It comes down to that. And speaking, you mentioned the tourist areas of Haiti, which leads me to the next topic of today, which is all of these tourists that were killed, unfortunately, in our country, either by being poisoned or their immune system wasn't strong enough to deal with some of the foods and the drinks that are provided in the resorts, or they were killed by other groups of people. At least that's what I heard. I heard many different stories, and there was a Canadian man who was recently deceased in Dominican Republic, unfortunately. And I just found out about it today. Let me see if I can find that. His name was Dan Wright, and he passed away. He was on his way back, I guess, to Canada.
Yeah.
And he drank something and he passed away once he arrived to Canada. So my condolences to Megan Wright and to the family of this man for this tragedy. I feel bad and I feel like shame that this happens in our beautiful country. And I wish there were other ways that we can prevent these horrible tragedies from happening. But I also watched a video that I also sent to Viva Bella a couple days ago, in which um, I saw this American lady who was saying, about 265 people get murdered here in New York. I don't know if it's monthly or weekly or how often it is.
I think she
But
said it was a year, 260 a year.
yeah, it's so like my issue with all of these comments and the videos that are posted by other YouTubers is that they make it sound as if these incidents only happen in Dominican Republic, only in third world countries. And here in the United States, the richest country in the world, these things happened. Immigrants get killed, tourists get killed, 265 people a year get killed in New York City. So my whole issue is, why are we making it sound like it's only about Dominican Republic? Like, as if we hate Americans, or we have some type of conspiracy against Black people from the United States, or Americans in general, or tourists in general, and that's not the reality. And that's my take on it. Whoever wants to jump in and say their thoughts, feel free.
Christina, you want to go? Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. So I've heard so many different things at this point. I don't even know like which ones to believe, or if multiple ones of them are true. But I heard about possibly the alcohol being sold at these resorts, that they may be bootleg or tainted alcohol, and that could be contributing to some of the deaths. I've heard that it could be the pesticide that's being used around the resorts, and I guess they're using heavy doses of it, and that is affecting the tourists as well. I've heard that this has something to do with the fact that DR has some type of relationship with China, and that China has told its people not to come to the US. So this is now the US's way of getting back at China by, putting like the media light on DR in a bad way. And then, I also heard that the DR is just attacking just Black people. I've heard a little bit of everything. I'm like, oh my goodness, like I don't even know what to believe anymore. I mean, at least I think that last theory that it's an attack on Black people can kind of be debunked now, considering a lot of these deaths have been white people. Yeah. But I mean, it's crazy. I wouldn't be surprised though if the alcohol and the pesticide has something to do with it. I did see a video from a lady that was vacationing in DR, and she demonstrated how when she put her alcohol in a cup and like put ice in it, it turned into like this solid type of consistency. So that kind of proved that, it was probably bootleg. So you can imagine that happening in your system, the effect that could have. And something I've heard other people mention is, most of these resorts aren't even Dominican owned. A lot of them are owned by Americans and owned by Europeans. So, I mean, the theory or whatever that Dominicans are like behind this master plan to like just kill off the tourists and all this stuff is just kind of ridiculous to me. Is this concerning? Of course. But I do feel, the media, they control things. And if they want a certain country or something to be portrayed a certain way, they will find a way to do it. And I have never seen a country be in the media for this type of stuff as much as the Dominican Republic have. I mean, it's like literally every single incident now is like big headline news, despite the fact that these things happen sometimes even more in other countries than they have in DR. I was looking at like a graph the other day, which showed that tourist deaths in DR had actually been decreasing, and they have a less death toll rate or tourist toll rate than Mexico, and in a lot of years, Jamaica. So, I mean, I feel like there's definitely a reason behind why it's only been DR depicted so much in the media. Why that reason is, I don't know why. But I don't think it's accidental. There's something behind that. But I do think though that we do need to kind of get to the bottom of it, because I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want all this negative press surrounding the country. You know, I know a lot of people, they're scared not to go down there. You know, I've seen comments from multiple people online saying they canceled their trips, they're not going back down there and stuff like that. So I mean, it's definitely cause for concern.
Yeah. What I really think is, I mean, it's just obviously we live in a world which is hyper connected, and information just flows back and forth so easily, and so you know, without any effort, that you know, people are because some of these cases like are here, or one of those cases, I'm not sure, they're like from last year and they bring them up now. So why are we bringing up these cases from last year now? Something that you were saying, Christina, is that I think from this point up to this year, I think DR is safer than last year. Less tourists have died in the Dominican Republic than last year. What's going on in the Dominican Republic? I mean, you know, we got to wait till the investigation comes and with the result. Actually, the Dominican Republic did ask the FBI to get involved voluntarily, not because they had to or anything. Voluntarily, they did ask the FBI, and I think it's good. That way they, you know, make sure everything is under control and whatever it is. I really don't know exactly what's happening. If until this point it's less than last year, then it's something that's normal. I've heard people say that, like in places like in Mexico and in Costa Rica, more tourists die. I mean, it's just, I guess, part of the game. I mean, I don't want it to sound like this, but people die every day, everywhere. Not only in the Dominican Republic, everywhere they die. So I'm like, hey, I mean, it is what it is. Let's again, my concern is the bad press that is getting. What me, and I did a video with my wife on this, is with me as a Christian. The way I look at a lot of this stuff, that, you know, like for example, we have everything coming together, like the comments of Romeo Santos, that supposedly he was saying that, which he didn't even say anything. He was just saying who he was. He's half Puerto Rican and half Dominican. People say, no, he's already saying that he's not Dominican because of what's happening in DR. The shooting of David Ortiz and this whole negative press that the Dominican Republic is getting from these things. What I look at it, the way I look at it, from my Christian worldview and my eagle eyes, that I look the whole picture, me personally, and I, you know, you guys don't have to share it in this view, is that I believe it's just a message from God. I mean, I think this is not a coincidence that everything is just happening together, and the eyes of almost the whole world is on the Dominican Republic. I think is something telling us that, you know, the government, the president is doing horrible. I think the David Ortiz thing brings into light the criminality in the Dominican Republic, which some people compare it just the same as the U.S. They're saying that it's not a big deal, but I think for us going to the Dominican Republic, it's a different country than obviously the U.S., and we do have to take a bit more care when we do travel down there, and all these things just coming together. I'm like, you know, maybe God is telling us. I say maybe. I'm not saying that this is the case, that we gotta, you know, straighten up and do what we have to do as a country. I think Dominican Republic, there's a lot of potential, and the country is a beautiful country, and with great human beings, beautiful human beings. All the people that come from the Dominican Republic that visit there that are not from the Dominican Republic, they all say they love it. They love it. And you could see this by the amount of expats that live in the Dominican Republic, and debunking that one of the points you said, Christina, is that it's something against black people. Yo, black people love Dominican Republic. Black Americans, they're out there in, you know, because they love it. I mean, they get the vibe. They're not attacked because of their race or anything like that, and they just love it. The dollar, they could use more of it, and the exchange rate is very favorable to American expats that go live over there. And I think it's just a whole slew of things, but I think we just have to wait for the toxicology reports to come out. I think a couple of them have said that they have died of heart attacks and whatnot. At the end of the day, they are older people. like they are like in their 50s and whatnot. Some of them I've heard are taking medication while drinking, so we have to take that into effect. But it's just a waiting game right now. We are going to wait. I think at the end of the day, this thing will pass. The Dominican Republic will be the same as it was before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my take on this is not only, that these people, because you can come across different ages of people, different tourists from who are young, middle age, older, who come to our country. But I also think, when I have lived in three different countries, the Dominican Republic, the United States, and Greece.
Oh wow.
From my experience, when you move to another country, or if you're just going to visit another country, you have to do a lot of research and not just sit down in front of a computer and Google things. No, I try to talk to people who are from that country. Try to educate yourself as much as possible before you go to that country. And if it is possible for you, travel with somebody who is from the country, who can tell you where to go,
Yeah.
who to talk to,
Mhm.
because I know Dominicans who dress themselves humbly. They're not bragging about how much wealth they have,
Mhm.
how rich they are, and they don't get attacked by other people,
I agree.
and they have a good time.
Yes.
And also, I don't mean to be disrespectful or condescending to anybody, but there are some of the Americans who come to our country who might think that they are entitled to a lot of things. And that, causes a lot of backlash with the locals who are going to be like, who are you? Who do you think you are? This is not your country. And they're going to retaliate against those Americans. And I know this because when I lived in Greece, I was the only Hispanic amongst a group of people who were Americans. And there was a guy who was from Bermuda. But, they were not treated very nicely because some of them acted very entitled,
Yeah.
and the Greeks were like, who do you think you are?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not your country. You can't come here and act as if you are better than us. Hello, no. And I'm not saying that all Americans are like that, and I hope none of you are offended over this, but that's what I saw. And that's the attitude that some Americans adopt when they go to other countries. And
Mm.
I think I'm coming from a good place when I say this to everyone. Do your research, try to find somebody who can come with you over there, who can guide you, who can help you, and be wary of go to the doctor before you go somewhere else so that you can get, like, when I came to this country, before I moved here, I had to get vaccinated and get like about 12 or 14 vaccinations before I started studying. As an interpreter, I have to get like the TB scan to verify that I don't have tuberculosis every year. So I think that that's another thing that people can do before they travel to other countries. They have to find out, certain diseases, certain foods, all of that, so they can protect themselves. And granted, there are certain things that cannot be prevented before it happens, because that's how, unfortunately, life is. But be wary, be alert, try to do your research before you travel.
Yeah, I do agree that Americans can sometimes have a sense of entitlement, just because I think in America we have that mentality like, oh, we're the best, we're the number one country in the world, blah blah blah, and if I go somewhere else, they're gonna treat me as such, they're gonna be like, oh, you're an American, but it's like, nah. I do agree that you have to kind of research and learn more about the country you're about to go into. And I mean, the truth is, people go over there thinking they can just roll around and, do things the same way they could over here, and that there's not going to be any consequences. I mean, even for me, as many times as I've been back to the R, I know not to be walking around with a whole bunch of gold jewelry. I don't try to draw too much attention to myself. I try not to walk around with my cell phone in public too much. Like, there's certain precautions you need to take. But people don't take the time to really learn that. Even my cousins that were born and raised over there that now live over here, when they go back, they even dress down and try to look as humble as possible. Like they dressed in like a wife beater and basketball shorts every day because now they're seen as, viajero. So, they're going to be looked at a little differently. But even they know there's a certain way you need to carry yourself when you're in another country. But again, people, they don't do their research. And then, certain things happen. But then who's look bad? The country. DRs look bad if something happens, even though it might have been due to their own negligence. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Valentine's?
No, thank you so much. It's good. It's great. I'm good for now. Thank you.
Okay. Any other topics that you would like to discuss, either of you? Hello?
I'm here. Yeah. I don't have anything in mind in particular, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we covered most of what we set out to talk about today.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing the space for doing this discussion. I learned a lot from both of you, and I hope that we can continue doing these discussions in the future. You guys can bring up other topics that we can discuss. Like I said, I want unity amongst Dominicans, Dominican Americans, and let's support each other.
Yes,
Thank you.
I agree.
Please subscribe to Viva Bella Extina channel and also the Valentine's show. And by the way, Valentine, I like how creative you are in all of the topics that you post over there.
Thank you.
You do a great job editing and putting everything together.
Thank you.
Very diverse topics.
Thank you. I try to bring something a little bit different. I don't want to. I hate copying people, and I want to give a little bit of me, because I'm pretty sure there's probably a lot of people who don't want politics 24/7 or this 24/7. I think humans, we're very complex, and we have a lot of things that we enjoy doing. We enjoy a lot of stuff. Look, we were talking earlier that you play violin, I play guitar, even Christina played bass back in the day, and there's other interests. So I try to get a little bit in that in my channel. Again, thank you so much for having me over, girls, and the chat was lovely. Hopefully we could do it again soon.
Yes, and I love the creativity that Christina also brings. I like her makeup. I love her topics. And from me, you have all my support.
Yeah.
If that's something.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. All right, take care, girls.
Really? You made it to the end of the video? Congratulations, you have no life. Go check out one of my other videos. Sub to the channel, give me a like, give me a comment. Check out my other social media, which is Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I do have a life, so I'm not gonna be that active, but follow me on there. God bless. Godspeed. Me, Valentine.